parenting.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
Becoming parents. Oh, we're gonna have a baby. I've always wanted to have a baby, and you're so excited, and you know, of course, before you have a child, you're professional at raising children. You can tell everybody else what they're doing wrong with their children because you know all about how to raise good kids that are obedient and never talk back, never have an ounce of problems, and then reality comes when you get your own child, and it starts immediately, like right at the hospital when the nurse puts this live human being in your arms and then says, "We'll see you later. You're ready. You're free to go," and you turn around and start putting that child in your car, and you say, "Oh my God, I'm responsible for this life," and terror will grip you, your heart and your mind, because I guarantee you, until it's your baby and there's nobody else to go, I mean, you're it. You're the dad. You're the mom. There's a sobering thing that settles in, like, I need to know what I'm doing here. This child is gonna turn out like me. Is that good?
Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing?
So anyway, that's what an intro to being a parent. Like, I'm not trying
welcome to parenthood.
I'm not trying to scare you, and if you haven't had children yet, and you're probably laughing hysterically right now if you have already had children, because that's kind of how it is. Like, hello, this is reality, and but.
We have 4 kids.
We have 4. They're all grown adults now.
Yeah.
And we have one in college, and the rest of them are out of school. And
someone asked us one time if we would teach a parenting class, and we're like,
I don't know if we'd be any
know.
good at
I
it.
don't know.
And then we started thinking, well, maybe.
Well, ours turned out okay.
We have no serial killers in our family.
No, they all love Jesus.
Yeah, none in prison.
At least we don't think.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And they come home for Christmas.
Yeah.
So,
they still love their mom and dad.
Yeah.
They love each other.
Yeah.
I think that worked pretty good.
Yeah. We did
And
something
so,
right. Not sure what we did, but we did something.
So what did we do? How did we parent kids? I mean, you're a stay-home mom.
I was a stay-at-home mom.
And I worked. I was the breadwinner in the family. Mm-hmm. Not that you used to work before. And
right. But there's different.
Why did you stay home to begin with? Why?
Well, I stayed home. Well, I worked right up until our first one was born.
Yeah, but you.
And then I did the maternity leave, and then it just. That was always the desire of my heart. Is that okay to say? Is it wrong to want to be a stay-at-home mom anymore? I mean, people want to go out and get a job, but I liked being a stay-at-home mom.
And we realized that in order to raise children, we decided separate from pressures of society. It's even worse now, but 30 some years ago when we had our first child, there was increasing pressure that we needed to have a dual income family. Mm-hmm. That the lie was that you can't make it. You can't have a house. You can't live the American dream unless both of you work, and you have to ship your kids off to somebody else to raise. Mm-hmm. And we didn't like that. We thought, well, these are our kids. We want to be the ones that decide how they grow up, what they get taught.
And we'll do whatever it takes to make that work.
To teach them to our best ability how to be a productive adult. And so off we go. We're here's our first child. Marla's staying home from work and raising kids. And I think that all I need to do is just go to work and come home and make money. And then I found out, well, that's probably not all there is to being a dad.
Right.
That was
one have to be a dad.
That was a growing up time for me.
Yes.
So you don't stop growing because on the outside you're a man, you have a wife, and now you have a baby, and so now you're the American dream. Everything that you've ever wanted is here, and ta-da, you've arrived. Did I arrive?
No.
I wasn't even close to
No.
arriving.
No. And it's not my job to raise the kids and the house, take care of the house, and do all the stuff around there. And you just go to work and come home and,
Yeah.
just do your own thing.
And so,
A stay-at-home mom has got a
yeah.
is a 24-hour job.
And
so
you
is
don't-
being a dad.
You don't, there's no parenting school that's very good out there to go to, really. I didn't know of one. And so you learn as you go. And you don't have to.
And you learn
you
from
can
what
learn-
your parents did too.
Yeah, you can watch your mom and dad, but you don't know these subtle things like why, when you come home and you've worked hard. I work construction, so I was really tired when I came home. But laundry still had to be done. Instead of one day I just put my big boy pants on and decided, you know what? If the dishes aren't done and mom's still over there taking care of babies, do the dishes. Right? And
Right.
that one decision started leading to, this is really a partnership raising kids. It's not mom's responsibility to raise the kids, and so we just shared responsibility. Like,
This is kind of a little bit marriage parenting, but
you can't be a good parent unless you have a good marriage.
right.
Maybe you need to watch the other segment we just did about marriage first, and then come back to this one.
Oh dear. Yeah, so we really, I think a lot of it was I learned from what I had been taught. And
Which was a blessing in our house, because her mom and dad raised 3 girls, and they stayed married. We just celebrated with them their 60th wedding anniversary. And so there is a inherited
There
blessing
is.
that we received because of the example that they lived. Similar circumstance in my house. My mom and dad married, made choices to even move out of the town that they lived in to get away from bad influences around them, so that they could raise their family in a correct manner. Made sure that we went to church, made sure that we understood the Bible. My dad volunteered at the church, was a good example of being a servant. And to this day, I can't think of one time that my mom and dad fought in front of us. Like, they would never do that. And I don't know if I lived up to that example very well, but
you're-
they did, and they demonstrated love that way. Like, that was honor. I know they disagreed, but they honored each other that way.
Yeah. And now your dad passed away. Otherwise, I fully believe that your mom and dad would still be
Yeah,
married.
I thought about that too. Just when we were at your mom and dad's
Yeah.
anniversary, I thought, wonder how many years would it have been for my mom and dad.
Yeah.
But
But I think, but in parenting, I think one key thing to do as a parent is if you say something, you stick with it. What's an example of that? If you do that, then I'm going to have to take away something. Okay.
we're talking about teaching obedience to your children.
Right. And
So-
so follow through with take it away. Because I see
Right.
so many parents that keep giving
Yeah.
another chance, another
Un-
chance.
All
No.
you're doing
No.
is parenting your child with threats.
Yeah.
If you don't stop,
I'm going to
you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
But trouble never comes.
Right.
If you don't stop doing that, I'm going to take away your game. And you go and take away their game for 2 minutes, and then they start screaming and hollering, and to make them be quiet, you give the game back. So when
Be
you
a person of your word.
so you need to understand. In our house, we might be another topic, but we
we
spanked
spanked.
our kids, and so this was the tool of discipline we used, which is biblical, by the way, still is. It didn't go away just because Dr. Spock wrote a book. But anyway, so when our kids disobeyed, I didn't decide that they needed a spanking, they did. And so we waited.
Because they knew that if they did something wrong, that's what would happen.
Yeah, we waited to spank them until they were old enough to have an understanding. Do you remember that I asked you not to punch your sister in the face? Yes, I remember. Okay, because you decided to do that, you're going to get a spanking. You're the one that asked for that. I have to give it to you.
There's a consequence.
Because you want it. And after a while, they wouldn't do that anymore. I'm the one asking for it. And I'm going to get it because my mom and dad keep their word. And so,
Now none of our kids punched each other in the face. Let me
got
just
your attention,
clarify
though, didn't
that.
I?
mean,
And so,
they weren't perfect kids, but they didn't punch each other in the face.
so we held our kids accountable.
Yeah.
You don't throw a fit and then I'm too busy to deal with you, and so I just throw a threat. No, and then when they're younger than that, what did we do? Like you're in the department store, one of the kids invariably is tired. They don't want to be there.
Or grocery store.
They
yeah,
have
yeah.
no social skills yet, so doing this, what's going to happen next, is not out of their wheelhouse. They throw themselves on the floor in the middle of the aisle at the store, even where people are walking and it's not even clean. The little kid's laying on the floor, throwing a fit, saying,
Screaming, or I don't want
I
that.
want this, or I want
that.
this, and trying to get attention. What did we used to do?
Oh, man, that was a lot of years ago. But I think there was two things that we would do. We'd either pick them up and take them out to the car, or we would just keep walking.
Yeah. So
leave them there.
So little kids. So if they're old enough to understand that that's grounds for a spanking, then we'd take them out to the car so that we weren't in public, and we'd give them a spanking and then come back in. If they did it again, I'd take them out to the car where we were out of the public view, and I'd give them a spanking, and I'd bring them back in.
And what an inconvenience this was.
If we're driving
too.
down the road and the kids are throwing a fit, and I told them, if you don't stop doing that, I'm going to stop the car and give you a spanking. They did it again. I stopped the car and gave them a spanking. That was it. There was no other. I already said what was going to happen. You chose this. And so there's consistency. Love is consistent. If you're inconsistent, you're teaching your kid that compromise is okay by the way you're parenting. And so today, kids are allowed to run around restaurants and scream and yell while the rest of us are trying to have a conversation, and parents don't do anything.
No, they don't.
They don't keep their kids to any kind of a standard. It's a free-for-all. And then you wonder why your kid won't listen to you when they're a teenager and trying things that could kill them or damage their own lives. And then when you try to tell them that's wrong, they won't. Why don't my teenagers listen to me? Because you didn't teach them to listen to you while they were 3 and 4 years old. And that's kind of nasty and mean, right? Well, okay, if you're the one, then stop it. And anyway, taking the time to teach your kids that they're the ones asking for the punishment takes the stress off of you. You're not the bad guy.
No, we didn't punish in anger.
No.
That's not what
I
we're
had
saying.
to learn that too.
You did, but we learned that's not going to solve anything either. By punishing in anger.
Yeah, and if you're angry, then take a breath.
Take 10.
And follow through on your word after you've calmed down. And tell the kid, I'll be right back. Sit there until I come back. That might be even good for them.
Yeah.
And so both of you can calm down, and then give them a spanking.
It's also another thing about parenting is that you and I have to agree on it. There's parents that they don't agree that dad should punish them for doing such and such. So it's really important that you be on the same team, if you will, same side in understanding in parenting, in discipline, in different areas.
Another thing we would do is I would never allow my kids to disrespect my wife. She was my wife before she was your mother. That kind of an idea. Like, if anybody else was to walk up to her and mouth off to her and call her bad names and disrespect her, by golly, I'm going to protect her and stop that. At least remove her from the situation. Well, I can't remove her from the situation because that's her kids doing it. So you know who's going to get it? The kids. You don't attack my wife. I love her, and I'm always going to love her, and you need to love her too. She sacrifices for you. I'd explain why they need to love her, and then correct them, and never let them dishonor my wife. And so you.
And on the flip side,
that teaches the kids character.
Never diss the dad to the kids.
Exactly. So remember, we're working with all kinds of people that are growing. The kids are learning. Moms and dads are still learning, even though they have kids. Mom might be on a different character level than dad. Dad's struggling.
Might be the wrong time of the month for mom.
He's, the scenarios. I mean, there's all kinds of
Financial
pitfalls
issues, all kinds
in
of
life,
stuff
and
going
if you
on.
choose one of the pitfalls, you're in it.
Yeah.
Until you get out. Well, mom doesn't say bad things about the husband in front of the kids. Still honors, even though they're in a place where they might not deserve it right now, but they're still the kid's dad. So what happens is when you talk bad about each other in front of the kids, then the kids are free to talk bad about everybody. How you live in front of them is they're absorbing it. It's not just the ABCs and how to color. They're absorbing everything you do. They're undeveloped film laying there, and when you live your life in front of them, it all gets imprinted on them, and they turn out thinking and acting like you. And a mixture of us both. And when you're disrespecting each other, allowing them to attack each other, then you train them. That's how you live.
Now, we weren't perfect, but I think we did a pretty good job, of being who we were at home, the same as being in public. Like we weren't somebody different in public than we were at home,
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, as good as we knew how.
Right.
I mean, and that's, again,
I
If
just
you're-
think that there's moms and dads that are all nicey in public and stuff, and then they go home and they throw things at their kids. They slap each other.
So what
they,
you're saying is if
and
you
they
do
go to
that-
church. They're all nicey.
if you do that, you lose the respect of your children because you're a hypocrite.
Right.
There's a gap in between what you believe and actually how you live, and there's no way to hide that in front of your kids. They see how you live. They're watching. Everything you do is a learning for them. Your failures, if you fail in front of your kids, it's a learning experience. Turn it into something good. If you have a victory in front of your kids, let them see you have a victory that doesn't puff you up into pride. I mean, every part of life can turn into something good for your kids, or it can be a bad example for your kids.
And I think a good example of being a good example is as our kids got older, we invited them to be part of decisions that we made for our family.
That was a good one. That builds confidence in the kids, like we trust them to have a good idea.
Yeah. I think that was a really good thing to
And it was kind of fun,
hear their opinion.
fun to hear the ideas that they would come up with.
Yeah,
What do you even on big decisions?
like moving.
Well, we knew we would have the final say and the final decision, but we didn't present it like that. We wouldn't come to the table and say, we're gonna move. We'd come to the decision table and say, okay, we're gonna have a discussion tonight. What would it look like if we moved? And then everybody would have input. And
Now, whether they wanted to input, that was up to them.
yeah, but it was a cool way for us to measure their hearts and what they thought, and then it helped us make the transition easier. So there's a give and take both ways. These are little human beings that are growing up into mature men and women, and you're grooming them. The way you raise them as little people, they're going to end up the same way as old people. If they're out of control and disrespect you when they're little, they're going to be out of control and disrespect you when they're teenagers. And there's one thing that is one of my pet peeves, that people will say out of their mouth, well, they're 3, they're just going to be a terror. That's just the terrible 3s or the terrible 2s. Or that's just how teenagers are. They're going to live like hell, and then later they'll be okay. Teenagers are always rebellious. It's just that age. No, it's not an age. It's how you raise them. I didn't have rebellious teenagers. I had 3-year-olds that tried to throw a fit, but we would step over the top of them and keep walking, and they would look and go, well, that didn't work. And they would get up and run and go find us. Where are you going? If they would come in the kitchen and say, I'm tired and I don't like, just with a real whiny
Yeah, I remember that.
voice,
Yeah.
and, oh man, if you've had a long day and a kid starts talking like that, it's like fingers on the chalkboard. So I remember my wife, she would bend over and she'd look at him in the face and she goes, I can't hear you. I don't speak Whinese. And then ignore them and just keep do something else. They'd stop. They'd quit whining. So you can train your kids in the way they should go, and when they're old, they won't depart from it. What a novel concept.
Wow.
Sounds like something
Bible.
straight out of the Bible. So we hope that there's these little
Oh, we're
nuggets.
done?
Aren't we done?
We got so many things we could share about parenting.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do another segment.
Yeah. Chew on those parts. Maybe we'll do a part 2 later, but that's a lot right there. All those parts that if you'll implement just what we just said just now, you'll be light years ahead of most people in popular society today that don't parent their kids at all. Parent your kids. You're the parents.
Wow, that'll you can take that to the bank.
Ka-ching.